want to show you some images, talk a little, and I think these images and small stories will perhaps show you a little about how we're working and what the show is about. First of all, you see this guy, his name is RAYGUN. He's an artist, he's a British artist, and he made some lectures which I will not copy, but I'll be working out from. Those lectures were called loose associations. And this is an edition he made, which I bought in Berlin. It's a small poster or a book which he put in the windowsill, and the paper is cyanotype, which reacts to sunlight, so the ultraviolet rays will sort of fixate the pigment, the photochemical pigments. I bought this, and this is when it's unfolded, so you can see the dark areas are the areas that got light, and the others didn't get light. This is the back side of it, where he wrote down his show. I made this work around the same time. This series of cyanotypes is called blueprints. And they are all images of spiders' webs. And all these spiders' webs came from an experiment with drugs during the 60s, where this chemist, Peter and Witz, took a lot of spiders and gave them different kind of drugs like mescaline, LSD, caffeine, and so on. And he took photos of it. It was sort of a way to study how spiders would react to drugs. Not people, but since that time people have used those drugs, or have used those images of drugs to sort of get an idea of how they work with the human mind. And I sort of want to show not what drugs work like, but how people perceive drugs. And this work was bought by a Danish company called Nykredit, which is, I don't know what it's called in English, but if you want to get a loan for a house, this is where you get the money. And they actually have a nice, good art collection. This was my first artwork that I ever sold. And Nykredit is based in Denmark. And this is an image from Copenhagen. You see typical Danish houses in the background. And this is a poster in the park. It says "Park Birds in Copenhagen" down here. And it's all been washed out. So this colorful image, because it's been exposed to sun rays, you only have the blue colors left. So this was part of my, inspiration for the show. Also this book, which some of you might know.
Yes.
I read it on a voyage when I was 18, which was 18 years ago. I took this 24-hour trip, similar to my trip here, which took 24 hours. And I read it together with another person, a girl I met aboard this bus. And it was sort of our thing during those 24 hours. So it was quite a temporary thing. And this relates to the wall painting we see in the show, because all those birds, the seagulls on the walls, are, well, some of them are actually depictions of seagulls, but I have been twisting and turning them in Illustrator. So they've been manipulated to be in a state of flux. So you recognize some of them as bird shapes and some of them as just shapes. Of course, this is linked to Matisse, his jazz series, where he made some paper cuts. Also another inspiration for me. And these paper cuts are made by Danish fairy tale writer H.C. Andersen. which you very well might know.
Yes, indeed.
And he was most famous for writing stories. But also his paper cuts were quite neat and popular at the time. Around this time, he wrote a story called Sommergæk, which means the snowdrop, but it's sort of inverted. So another paper cut. This fairy tale was a campaign story. He actually got hired by a friend of his they were trying to rename the snowdrop. In Danish it's called Vintergæk, and they wanted to call it Sommergæk instead because they thought it would be a more appropriate name. So he wrote these stories where the ending was a morale that said, well, it should be called Sommergæk because of this and that. This ending was cut later on in the next reprint, so the translation you read now in English is actually the shortened version, which totally lacks the point, but it's a nice story about a snowdrop. This is one more of his paintings. Oh, sorry, his paper cuts. And this is an actual snowdrop letter. This is a tradition in Denmark where you fold a piece of paper symmetrically and you cut it with scissors and you put a snowdrop in it. This relates to some of the work in the background, in the back room, where you have images of snowdrops being cut this way. And you write on it something, you write a rhyme and you write it as an anonymous sender. So what it says here, it says, my name is written in dots, ... So you put a dot for each letter in your name. This snowdrop is made by the famous company called Le Klint, and they excelled in folded screens for the lamps. This is a new. This is from last year, I think 2011. This is a new product of theirs. It's shaped like a snowdrop. You see in action here. Typical Danish setting. You know, it's cold outside and it's cozy inside. And this is the story that H.C. Andersen wrote. These are the original manuscripts. It's just 5 pages, and this ending was cut. And Andersen, well, the Japanese took the name Andersen for one of the bakeries. They made a chain of bakeries. You see, it says Hiroshima, Tokyo, San Francisco, and Copenhagen. So it's a bit. I found this in Copenhagen, close to where I live. I live quite close to the harbor now, where I see on 7th floor. So all I see is the blue sky and the seagulls coming in from the sea. And the Japanese are also quite good at creating swords, scissors. And this is a bonsai scissor that I bought over the internet, and it's used for cutting the topiaries in the back room. And this I manipulated. I put an eye in it. And this bird's eye is from the satin bowerbird, which is native to southern Queensland. And very distinctive the feature of this bird is that it collects, this going from bonsai to topiaries. I'll come back to satin bowerbird. These topiaries are a Roman tradition, which was popularized during the medieval times, and they sort of spread all over the world. So these are quite elaborate. Yep. This is lying down, but this is just some prints I found in the flea market of topiaries. And topiaries can be made in different ways. The topiaries that I have bought for this show here in Toowoomba, they were just grown and cut into size, but Disney invented this method